Hey everybody, welcome back to the Electric Supercar channel. For those of you who are new, what we're doing here is we're taking a kit, lightweight car, putting a Tesla motor on it. A couple weeks ago we had our first maiden voyage, and since then we've encountered a few problems. So this week we're going to figure some of those out. Alright, so for the radiator, it's sticking up a little too high. We need to drop it down by about 2 fingers. So here's the deal. It is sitting up here by about 2 fingers. So I just have these brackets that are kind of supporting it, and that was really just to get all the kind of maximize the airflow through here. So I think what we'll do though is we'll go ahead and modify these brackets and just drop it down by about that much, and I think we should be good to go. All right, I'm gonna see if I can do all this without draining all the cooling system. So I'll just show you kind of here underneath. So these are the brackets, and like I said, essentially that's my 2 fingers that I need to drop it. So I will figure out how to modify these, and yeah, there's 4 of them. So gotta take these all out, modify and put them back in, and then hopefully just drop this down and bolt things back together. We'll see how it goes. All right, I have the brackets off. I've got to cut off these little mounting posts, those stubs, and I'm gonna just set it as low as it can go, and then I'll put the front clamshell on and see if we have clearance. Because if we don't have clearance, it doesn't make sense to kind of do any of the brackets. So I'll go ahead and chop those off and set it down. All right, we've got the front hood here pretty much, I think, where it's gonna live. Got a pretty even gap all the way around. I've got my helper alley here, just without it being kind of pinned in place, it kind of wants to slide down. So that's what she looks like. So here's the hood. In general, I've always found the aesthetics of the car pretty pleasing. I guess the one thing that I feel like that is kind of my least favorite feature is kind of these through points, and also just kind of the springs showing through. Again, somebody else, that might be their favorite part, but not my favorite part. The other thing I'm looking at is, so I will have some mesh or something here, but I'm gonna actually have to have something more permanent to kind of make sure the water doesn't just come on the batteries. You know, if you're washing the car, driving through the rain or whatever, I'll have to have like either a plastic or metal shield to kind of divert all the water away. All right, I believe this is the radiator problem solved. So we got it dropped down, everything bolted back in place. It's nice and secure. So I think that'll do it. The hood fits and everything. EV Control says that, again, the error message is either because the can is not talking or because there's the power is not getting to the inverter, both of which come from the controller. So I can check the power to the inverter. So that's S. Again, I've checked the wire itself. So now I'll just check to make sure that the controller is actually trying to send power. As far as CAN, I'm not exactly sure how to tell if I don't have like a CAN reader or a CAN logger, so I don't know how to tell if it's sending the messages or not. But we'll start with power and see what we come up with. All right, I'm going to go ahead and try this again. It seems like, so pin S is supposed to be supplying the inverter with 12 volts. When I turn it on, it only was giving like 0.1 volt or something. So see if I can try to do this again. So I don't know, it looked like maybe it tried there for a second, but I'll try it one more time, have it cycle on. So I turn it off, then back on. So it went up to like 1.4, but so I'm gonna try switching out pin S and just connecting it with 12 volts and see if that will kind of break the cycle. All right, I got a slightly different angle here to be able to show the screen as well, but I'll go ahead and start it. Still no. Okay, so I've tested everything I know how. Contact EV control, so they're going to take it and take a look at it. It does seem like there's some things potentially not behaving as normal, but I kind of suspect that's still something to do with what I've done. Again, all the wiring's correct. Just, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's something that I did. So anyway, we'll get on to something else. All right, now that we're moving on from the controller, we're gonna take a look at a few other things. I wanna see if I can wire a light indicator to the electronic parking brake. I need to get essentially there's a good loop for the BMS that I need to route through again for a battery light on the dash indicator. Besides that, I think I'm gonna start filling up my last fuse relay box with some extras like door locks, things like that, maybe AC, heater. Yeah, so I'll probably work a lot on the 12 volt wiring. All right, you know how in a regular car you got the battery light? I'm gonna add one to my build here and tie it into the BMS. So the BMS has I'll call it a good loop, so meaning if everything's good, it provides power, and if something's not good, it will not. So I'm going to tie that into a relay and then into a dash indicator like that battery symbol. So for the BMS wire or loop, good loop, again I'm going to supply it with 12 volts, and I want it to come back to my dash indicator light. But it's I'll call it a good loop, so meaning if I give it 12 volts, it'll just give that dash indicator light on. So I only want it to come on when it's bad. So I'm going to run it through a relay, kind of reverse the polarity, and that way we can have the dash indicator only come on when it's bad. What that does mean though is I've got these fuse relay boxes full, so I do have one more slot kind of right there, and gonna start wiring this. So I'm gonna need this one as well if I want to do things like door locks, things like, I don't know what else, but like if I want AC or heat and things like that. So I do have another slot for that, and I'm gonna go ahead and start getting this wired for the 12 volts. All right, I got this one wired for the BMS good loop. So again, I'll get a signal coming from the BMS, and then this one will go to the dash light. So that one's set up. I'll keep working on the others. All right, tried a time lapse, but it didn't work. So I got the one that we talked about last time. So I'm going to use 3 relays for the AC just because of all the power it takes. So I'll have each one do like 20 amps. I think I'm only going to pull like 40. So, but I'll have 3 fuses. It's all going to run off of 6 gauge wire or cable. So yeah, I just need to purchase the unit and get the wires and things, but I think I've got the AC. Again, I just need kind of like the on-off switch to get to all those. I guess I can do the ground wires. Maybe I'll do that. But yeah, looking good. All right, I got the grounds put in. The things like the blower, the heater, I'm gonna have to put more in, but I don't know, that makes a ton of sense. Even what I've done probably doesn't make sense until I've got the units to wire. Okay, so I think I've got my I'll call it my battery light, so it's right about there working. So I've got all my circuits and stuff here. Again, my BMS lights are good, so battery light shouldn't come on. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of disconnect it, like essentially that would be like an open loop there. If the battery's bad, and you'll see it pop on. So we're good. Just testing out the BMS systems again. Before I had one that was just a red and green flashing, and the other one was green. It turned out that the thermistor plug there, anyway, I don't know if it wasn't seated or if there's a slightly loose wire, but anyway, when I plug that in all the way, then it's working now. So, good news. So BMS, check. All right, for the electronic parking brake, I thought about adding, anyways, you can see that little park light for a dash indicator. So all my other systems are 12 volts. This one's like 5 volts. So yeah, not as easy. Don't know, maybe I'll just keep this light as an indicator and not do the dash indicator. Still trying to figure that out. All right, probably not worth all the effort, but I got 2 relays here, and that's my dash indicator for park. I'm gonna try to see if I can get a signal from when it gives it the signal to open and close, to see if I can get that to turn on and off. So if it works, I'll explain what I did. All right, go ahead and push on. Okay, so it's not on yet. Okay, so now it's open. Let's see if we can get this to close and have it turn on. Oh my gosh, it worked. So there it's on. And then if I push it again, it should go off. Oh, it was so close. Didn't go off. So we'll take a look and see if we can rewire to make it work. I think I had everything wired correctly. It's just, I think this board is pretty sensitive, so meaning where I'm trying to get it to draw a little extra power for the relay, I think that might be messing it up. So I'm gonna try one more time. Okay. Yeah, so when I do it, it's not triggering the right side here, and that's the side I'm trying to get to use the light. So I think I'll have to abandon it. All right, so for the electronic parking brake, we'll just resort to this being the indicator, which is fine. I don't necessarily need something on the dash. I think having something right here on the console will be fine. All right, so recap on some of the problems and where we're to. So the controller, it's shipped out. So they'll take it back at EV Controls and look it over and see if there's anything not behaving correctly on their end. On my end, I feel like I've done everything and kind of shown that there are some odd behaviors, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's something I'm doing, but I've thought of everything. So I think what I'll do is, while the controller's out, I'll probably try and look at some of my cabling and things and see if I can add some shielding, maybe take some things off, see if I can add some electrical insulation to some of the metal. So that'll be on the controller side. On the brakes, so the brake line, I'm not exactly sure when that fluid appeared, so it could have been there like really early on, just when I was assembling things. And again, I think when I first put all the brake lines together, I didn't necessarily tighten everything down like I probably should have, because as I was bleeding, I found a couple places that just had some leaks where if I just kind of gave it another quarter turn, you know, it stopped leaking. So the one that I found here, again, tightened. If it continues to leak, what I'll do is I'll just take that brake line off. I'll make a new brake line, get some new fittings, and try again. But we'll probably wait just to see if it was one that just wasn't quite tight, or maybe it's just some residual fluid from when we first started. So that's it for the brake. For the steering rack, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off the tires, take off the tie rods and things, and see if I can't pull the whole rack out and take a look. I ordered one. I looked. I think I may have got my wires crossed. I ordered one. I think it said something like steering rack, you know, power not included, or something like that, where I interpret that as like it wasn't power, meaning as manual. But I think as I'm looking at it now and with some comments, I think it is meant for power, and those are just some temporary plugs. So I'm going to see if I can take it out, and once I take it out, I'll decide if I just want to somehow create a bypass loop, if I want to add an electric pump to support that, or just what. All right, took the wheels off. So steering rack on this side, there's kind of just a little, I don't know, it's like I'll call it a C-clamp, so you can kind of see it. There's a cable in the way here, but so anyway, there's a bolt, and there's the other bolt. So this side's accessible. I'm gonna go see if I can do it on the other side. If I can get, again, there's 2 here and 2 on the other side. So if I can get those 4 bolts out, it'll just be taking the tie rods off and the steering shaft union. I can take that off from inside the car. So if I can get those out, then I'll just take the whole rack out and we'll take a look. So that is the little nub of the steering rack that I can't get through unless I kind of disassemble the entire battery pack. So it's just got a long arm there. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and, because I think I'm gonna have to disassemble this either way. So I think I might just disassemble it here, have things leak out, and then take it out and see what we got. I tried disassembling the pinion in place. So I got out the that lock nut, and I think that's like the tensioner. Anyways, I think it keeps them from rattling around. So I thought that I'd be able to then get this out, and it's still just really in there. So I'm not sure if there's something else that needs to be undone, and I can't find a lot of information. So I'm thinking that I'm just gonna have to go ahead and start pushing all that stuff out and get it out. Just take it out, and so I can put it on the bench and take things apart. All right, steering rack is out. I may have bumped cooling line. I saw just a couple wet spots, so I'll run the pump and make sure nothing's leaking. But the steering rack is out. What a pain. So again, I had to take off the radiator and kind of slide this forward just like a 1/4 inch. So take you over to the steering rack and show you what we're dealing with. This is a 1993 Honda Accord steering rack. So I looked and researched. They don't make a manual one. This guy, it's just long for most steering racks. So again, it was challenging with limited space to try and get that out. And so I actually tried to disassemble. I got this stuff out while it was on the car to see if I could pull this out, and it would not come out. So most of them I saw, but again, this one I don't see how this one works. Most of them have like a thing on the back here to kind of pull that out. But anyway, we'll get started. Again, originally it was kind of, I'll call it spray painted, all gray, and so it looked kind of new. When things leaked and stuff, it's kind of, I don't know, it kind of balls up the paint. So anyways, got a couple of these caps, I think 4 caps that I'll take off and start the bypass. I don't know, I'll get into it. I know this has got like a seal in the middle and it pushes things back and forth. I may choose to keep that, even though it'll add a little friction, just in case I want to do power steering later. Okay, so I got these guys off. This one says M14, and the other one says M12. So these are our 12 millimeter. This is 14. So, however, this one over here, which had a 14 cap, is not 14. So this one just like, it's bigger. So I'll check if it's the next size up. I don't know that they make a 15. I know they're just 16, but anyway, we'll get some fittings on the way. We got 12s, a 14, and on that side is a 16. So my plan is just to loop things. I know if I wanted to go like complete manual, there's kind of a piston ring in the middle that you could get rid of and just lube it with kind of some grease rather than the hydraulic fluid or power steering fluid. I'm going to do it this way just in case I want to switch back to power. I probably have an extra, I don't know, 150 pounds on the front axle as opposed to some of my other K1 builders. So I think manual will be fine, but again, this will leave me an option in the future if I want to switch back to power. So I know that I will be pushing fluid and air, which will give a little resistance, but I think I'll do that just for the option of switching back. I checked the fluid that was down there, and it was fluid essentially from the steering rack, so not the coolant system. So we're all good there. All right, the package made it to EV Controls for the controller, and they looked at it and they said it looked like something on the CAN side, like the CAN receiver chip was damaged or something. So they've replaced the board and they're going to be sending it back. I think that could be both good and bad, meaning I was kind of struggling to figure out what else to try and check because I felt like I'd checked everything. With that being said, I do worry that I'm just going to get it back and it'll still have that boot cycle problem or something else. So when it comes back in, we'll continue testing. All right, continuing on the controller theme, I did check before I sent anything off. I checked to make sure all the wires to the controller were correct and wired properly, and they were. I'm going to go ahead and check the on the inverter, make sure that everything looks good there, because the CAN messages, I guess, go through there. There's a resistor. So again, I want to make sure all those wires and everything looks like it's going good. All right, from the inverter plug, I checked all the wires going to the encoder, as well as to the brake pedal and accelerator pedal. So again, everything's connected correctly. The CAN resistor is still measuring correctly. All the grounds are still good. So again, I've checked, rechecked, and double checked all the connections. So hopefully when the controller gets back, we can plug it in and things will start working. I do worry, I kind of suspect that we'll still get that boot problem. I'm thinking somehow it has to do with when the cycle's starting up, that ground voltage or some, anyway, I just worry that there's still some underlying problem with the boot cycle. but where it wasn't kicking over out of the initial screen, I think that's been solved because of the damage that was noted. So hopefully that'll come back and we can at least get past that screen and get back to troubleshooting. I'm going to go through what I believe is a current leakage problem. I've just got my voltmeter here set up and just want to show kind of what I think is the problem. So I've got just a square steel on top, insulated just with some leather gloves. And I'm going to go from the negative battery terminal to that just to show you, okay, if it's truly isolated, we shouldn't be picking up any sort of voltage. And then I'll go to the frame, just let you see the difference. So I'll go to the frame first. So it started around 150, 170 volts, and then it kind of drops pretty quickly. So meaning there's kind of some voltage that's built up, but the leakage isn't strong. It can't keep that voltage coming. So yeah, it's nothing. So let me show you what I think is going on. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but here's my thought. We'll just set this up here. Can you read that? All right, so the battery modules have, I'll call it the cooling. These are all for cooling, just to kind of dissipate the heat. And I believe that they're not completely isolated from the energy itself. So I'll just show you what I mean, because you saw the car kind of was up to, I don't know, 150 volts or something like that, and then it kind of dropped. So again, I would think if these are isolated, again, you shouldn't get any voltage. But when I connect one side to essentially to the power and the other side to the cooling, you actually get some voltage. So it kind of started out around 10 volts. Yeah, so again, I don't know, to me there shouldn't be any voltage difference there. So I'll show it one more time here. So you see it kind of was 11 volts and it drops pretty quickly. So again, it's not like a circuit, it's not wired, it's just got a leak, I think, to the cooling elements. All right, I asked some of my forum friends, some of the companies I've been working with, kind of asked them all the question that I've been seeing with the frame accumulating some voltage, and also the voltage I'm seeing across between the cooling and the terminals. And the consensus is it's just more of a, I guess I'll call it a capacitance effect, meaning even if this is insulated, if you've got a high charge, an insulator, and then a conductive plate, that's kind of how the capacitor works. So you'll build up a little bit of charge there. So the consensus is that's probably not a problem. Everybody kind of said, gave some suggestions to test to the frame with like either a resistor or a load, like a light bulb or something, and then I can measure either the voltage across that or the current, just to make sure I don't have any high voltage leaking problems. All right, so here's what I'm trying. I've got one end to the negative side of the pack, the other end not yet, but will be connected to the frame. In between there, I've just got a little flashlight for my load. Number one, it'll help me see if there's current going through, because it'll light up. But the other thing is I've got this one on either side of the load, so I can measure voltage. So we'll see what this does. Go ahead and connect this to there. So I don't get any voltage. So I don't think we have a problem. I think I guess I'll call it a false alarm. I just didn't know about the, I'll call it the capacitance effect, that basically your frame could just kind of build up a low low amount of current, I guess, but some high voltage.
All right, we made a lot of good progress, got a lot of those problems solved. So we'll continue working on those and see you next week.